last thing I said was I had opened read her will, which I didn't know anything about. I had no idea what kind of income Jane had or didn't have. She didn't look very rich to me. Who would have thunk it? She put a big smile on my face. Chapter 66. It's the goodbyes that hurt the most. Many years ago, long before I left for Africa, I had asked Jane to get a personal lawyer. We lawyers are ethically bound to not represent family or other intimates. I had a feeling she was relying too much on my personal influence and advice. She was a very lonely woman, and after her father died, was easy prey for insincere or malattentive people. I think you get the picture. So, I recommended her to a mutual friend and a practicing lawyer that I really trusted, a guy named Ciro Poppy. He's still around. So's his son. I just wrote his son just the other day. He and she alone drafted all her legal stuff while I was away, which I assumed, I assumed I was included in the will. But I told her many times I do not want to be included, and if I was, I would spend it on a big party or give it all away. I told her straight out, if you ever talk about who you give anything to, I will never speak to you again. She knew I was serious, and she agreed. I didn't want our friendship based on money. I didn't want her thinking I was taking care of her because she had something to give me. I hate it when people try to manipulate me like that. It makes me crazy. She agreed, and it was truly a real surprise to read her will. It was a very pleasant surprise, I must admit. When I opened the bank strongbox, it was stuffed with stock certificates and other valuable papers. I took them to a broker recommended by Ciro, and when the tally was finished, I was a very rich man by any standards. I had my own house in the city. I bought beds at IKEA for the third floor, computers for each of us. I had the house completely repainted and all the windows fixed. Jimmy the Sea got me very used to an old SUV, as they call them today. We call them bakkies out in Africa, for $2,000, and I thought I had splurged. I wasn't used to spending money. Dan was very confused about her roles in America. I sent her and Annie to Delaware Tech for every computer lesson that they offered, and I convinced St. Hedwig Senior Center to let me teach Chai Chi exercise class to all the old fogies. I put it together so that they could sit in chairs for the whole program, and I always closed with Zazen. In a few months, they were doing self-defense moves, standing up, feeling great, marching around. It was boring as hell. Even politics was awful. The Republicans were all fighting over who was going to be president, either McCain or Bush. And for governor, it was either Jerry Spence, my buddy, or a guy named Burris, who also was a friend of mine, that we'd served in the legislature together. Both of them were running for governor. I hooked up with the McCain and Spence campaign and worked for delegates for Terry, as we call them, for state convention. We were the outsiders. I loved being the underdog. Danielle made the first intelligent move and reserved our plane tickets on the internet for Namibia. We agreed to leave the last week in November and returned to our desert town of Swakopmund for Christmas, which was our summer holiday over there. The house was finished and on the market. We bought every convenience gadget and warm clothing possible we could think of. We packed boxes full, and we shipped them all back. We kept the second year of the Cyber University alive since we left Namibia in such a hurry by using internet chat rooms on Saturdays. Andrew and Yanita did all the teaching after Danielle left for America, and they moved into our flat permanently. Things were going perfectly well in America, and I had the personal thrill of meeting my new grandchildren for a few months. But all the old middle-class phony attitudes were still around, or lurking in political and social situations. My old friends had really grown old in attitude and still had not read many books worth talking about. And their current political ideas really sucked. Some were still listening reverently to talk shows. I guess a new phenomenon in America. Talk shows. These jerks were their prime source of political information, not knowing that these jerks were actually paid to hype the public with highly charged political drama. It was clearly an intellectual dead zone society. The blind were leading the blind. They were blowing up a gigantic economic bubble, and nobody would admit it, and they were loving every minute of it. I could not wait until we got back to Namibia. And now I'm going to do chapter 67.